staff for the media broadcasters coming. Typical cup of tea for the Brits. So currently we broadcast the championships. For the last two championships, we've had a total broadcast network of just over 1 billion people for the championship, so it's a pretty big deal in that building, in and around that. The rest of the year you can go through it and you get tumbleweed coming down the corridor. There's literally nothing goes on in there. This building here, it's known as the Millennium Building. That's the big players' hub. They've got loads of gyms and stuff underground there. They can go underground into centre court where all the changing facilities are. The members themselves, the main clubhouse is normally on the southern end of centre court. They have to all move out of the members area into this area for the championships, and then the members area that's in centre court gets taken over by the chairman, and that then becomes the royal box and for all of his guests. Northern courts, we did used to have 6 here. There used to be 1 here, but on part of the complex for number 1, that court there was dug up and it's now been sort of turned into a restaurant facility for the public. Courts 14 and 15 here. In 2013 we dug them up and then we went down 2 floors and then we built 2 buildings underneath. We then put a 1 metre thick concrete lid back on top, and then we regrew and rebuilt the courts back in on top of there. So at the moment they step down. So the 2 bottom ones down here, they are earmarked at some point to do the same. They'll be dug up, lifted right up. The aspiration is to actually build a Wimbledon shop underneath, underground, as all of the spectators come in. That's the main turnstile there, and then they come across the bridge here, and then the crowds go around here, and then they assemble in the park. So that's pretty much completely full during the championships. Then we get on to Rangi Terrace, which is almost Henman Hill or Murray Mound, depending what you think of it. Originally, this part of the ground here is on a slope, and when they first designed number 1 court back in the 90s, they just terraced all of this area. That's now got a big screen down here, and then all of the crowds. We get about 6,000 people that are on day tickets come in, and they can just watch the tennis from that area, or they can go to all of the outside courts. The only courts you can't get onto and are ticketed only is centre court number 1 and court 2 and 3 sections. The rest of it, all of those courts are available for the public to come in. The ground passes that you queue up for, we only sell them on the day. We never sell them online or anything because we're trying to deter from touts. So unfortunately you do have to queue about 4 or 5 hours for those tickets, but once you're in, we start play at 11 o'clock every day, and then we play until last knockings, normally about £9:15. So for 25 quid or $40, you can pretty much get 10 hours of sport, and there's restaurants and bars and everything else in there as well. Rangi Park, originally we owned this land. The club have a policy, whenever land comes up for sale in the area, they buy it because it's such a big commodity. So back in the 50s and early 60s, they bought and acquired this area. They then released it back to the rugby club. There used to be a rugby club built there, and it was called a Rangi Rugby, and it was an expat New Zealand rugby club. And I'm led to believe that a Rangi is the Maori term for Mount Cook, the cloud piercer. So back in the 70s, we took this back and redeveloped it into tennis courts, and all we've done is kept the name. So it's still Rangi Park, which is our practice facility. Most of the players know it as a Rangi. They don't know why it's called a Rangi, they just know it's called a Rangi. And that's where 20 of our 20 practice courts are based over there. Number 1 court reopened for the first time in 2019 with the retractable roof. Even though the centre court roof's been on for 10 years now, the technologies that they've learned from there has been quite mind-boggling. All of the air conditioning units are now built up into the ceiling itself. In centre court, they're all built under there, so it's piped underground, under the road, and into centre court for the air conditioning. On this one, in just the space of 10 years, they've condensed everything and then actually put it in the roof itself. Centre court, again, obviously it's the jewel of the crown. Capacity of 15,000. Number 1 has 11,000, and we're allowed 42,000 spectators on site at any one time. We normally get about 47 during the day with people leaving and coming in. Obviously this is where all the finals are played, and this gets the most play as well. So it's sometimes a little bit unfair. When you see centre court in the finals weekend and how it's worn, it's not comparable to the other courts on the outside and the number one and stuff, because most of the men's singles is played in centre court, or the high proportion. That is the high wearing sport that we have with men's singles. So unfortunately that always looks a lot more worn, and to be fair, it even looks more worn on TV than it actually is in person. When you sometimes go on it and you think, actually it's not too bad, but on TV it looks a lot worse than it is. The golf course, we've owned this golf course, or we've owned this land for about the last 35 years. So for the championships, we close the front 9 all the way through here, and we use it for car parking. It's probably the only golf course I know in the UK that gets to close its course for a month and do complete renovations in the height of summer on all of its greens and tees, and we pay for all that renovation while they do it. I quite like doing presentations to the golf world, because certainly in the UK we always have this them and us. So you're either a greenkeeper or a groundsman, and as a greenkeeper think they're better than everybody else, and the groundsmen think that they're better than the greenkeepers. So I always say to when I'm doing presentations to greenkeepers, I always say that we have the ability to shut a golf course down and use it as a car park. They kind of look at it and think, is he taking the piss or what? We never quite know. But last year, or for the last 10 years, we've been trying to buy out the membership. So there's 750 members there, and you have to have I think it's an 80% majority to sell, and we keep offering them, and you never get to the magic number, because if you've been a member for less than 10 years, you don't get the windfall. So we asked the golf club to change their articles of association. So if anybody was a member on the 1st of January 2018, they would get the windfall. So they voted on that, and unanimously they said, yeah, everybody gets it. So last December, we offered every single member, the 750 members, we offered them £85,000 to buy back their membership. So we paid 67 million to buy the golf club back off of them. The aspiration is that we are going to replicate what we do here over there around the lake. So over the next 10 years, we're looking to build 30 plus grass courts and have a complete new venue over there for the qualifying. So we're the only Grand Slam that doesn't play its qualifying on its main site. The reason we can't is because it's a finite surface, and if we play qualies and practice and the tournament, the courts would just wear out. So currently, we hire a facility and we pay for all of the upkeep of their grass courts. Our aspiration is that we bring that, which is about 5 miles up the road, across to here. So over the next coming years, there'll be a lot of planning, a lot of discussions to be made. So we're going from a 42-acre site here to around about 150 acres. So we'll be pretty much double the size of any other tennis Grand Slam. And we're looking to develop the whole thing. As part of the deal, we can't move on to there for the next 2 years. Once we're allowed on there, January the 1st, 2023, it reverts to a 9-hole golf course. So this area here, they retain that as a 9-hole golf course, and they've got a running 1-year contract with it. So at some point we can just say to them, right, we're not going to renew that, we're now looking to develop that. All of this area here, as part of the planning, post-championships, will be open to the community. So all of the community children and stuff will have tennis programs where all of the local kids can come play on grass. We'll have competitions, we'll have schooling, we'll do weekend education things. It's all part of the built-in thing. So if I wasn't busy enough, then I certainly am in the next 10 years. This one is currently under construction. We've knocked this down. Last August, we've knocked out 5 indoor courts down, plus all of this car parking that runs around the back. We're looking to dig down 2 floors. We're going to put in a 400 underground car park facility there, then rebuild the six indoor courts back on there. And then 3 years ago, we actually built a tunnel under the road here. And then what will happen is that will then link in underground. So the players will get dropped off here for the championships, and then they'll be transferred in underground and then into their players hub here. That's due to open in 2 years' time. So we've got a bit of a flavour of the grounds and what we've got to do. Under my stewardship, we have a grounds team, so we look after the grounds as well as ground staff. So I have 16 full-time ground staff on main site. I have another 2, which is going up to 4 in the coming months down at another facility that we're expanding as well. And then for the summer, we take on 12 seasonal ground staff. They normally run from April through till October, and we get them from all over the place, all over the world. And then we get an additional 3 for the championships as well. I also have 8 full-time gardeners and a head gardener. They then get another 6 on their team. And then, as I say, we've got the guys down at our other facility. So full-time, I've got a crew of around about 40 staff. That then ramps up to around about 65 staff for the championships. And then just on the ground staff alone, as within that 16, we've got 2 full-time irrigation engineers, 2 full-time mechanics. We maintain, manage all of our own machinery. We do all of our own work, so all of our renovations, builds and everything are overseen by us and done by us. Also for the championships, we then get another 190 court coverers for all of the different courts. They also come under my stewardship as well. So for the championships itself, I have just short of 250 staff for the championships. And most of those are students, so a lot of them are so intelligent that they can probably split the atom. But if you ask them to put a cover across the grass court, they're kind of like, I'm not quite sure how that works. So there's quite a bit of training on how to get the students to do it. So this is currently our grass course, including Rains Park at the moment and both our facilities. So we have